And here's the thing. Is Extinction Rebellion simply nothing more than an organised crime group? Let's not dress this up in any other way. This is organised criminality. Blockading a free press is a crime. It's an act of violence by definition. And the protesters, of course, who took the attack on our way of life should face jail, according to the Home Secretary. She's ordered a review of the law aimed at toughening sentences for environmental extremists after they blockaded newspaper print works in a bid to stifle free speech. Options now being considered include designating the group as an organised crime gang, which would leave militants open to the threat of up to 5 years in jail. We know the views of Priti Patel there. What about the views of others? Boris Johnson said their actions were completely unacceptable. David Blunkett, former Labour Home Secretary, said the police should have taken whatever action was required. Labour frontbencher John Ashworth said this isn't what we want to see in a free society. Keir Starmer might have taken him 36 hours to respond. He did, however, condemn the actions. And then, of course, enter the dynamic duo, Dawn Butler and Diane Abbott. They had slightly different views on this. Butler responded to the fascists saying she thought it was, and I quote, excellent work. Diane Abbott, and remember, this is the woman that would have been in charge of crime in this country had the election gone the other way last year. She said that this is a tactic from Extinction Rebellion, which is something similar to the suffragettes. The suffragettes, of course, were protesting in order to have a voice. The print work protest was the very opposite, because, of course, only the XR voices count. Even Rupert Reed, who's a long-standing XR activist, condemned the action, calling people parasites. Trying to shut down the press is as bad as it gets. This is what fascism looks like. China, North Korea, Russia, myriad of other countries do exactly this, attempting to get a different idea out there that doesn't bark with the government line. Will see you in those countries getting a heavy jail sentence or your fundamentals attached to the mains. Probably both. Is Extinction Rebellion simply an organised crime organisation? 0344 499 1000. So here's what we know. Protesters targeted newsprint presses at Knowsley, that's in Merseyside, also the one in Motherwell, near Lanarkshire, and Broxbourne, that's in Hertfordshire. Around about 80 people were arrested. They claim, I love this, I absolutely love it, they claim the newspaper barons are evil billionaires who won't print the truth. A quick translation for the fans of the truth, by the way, is we will destroy anything that doesn't chime with our narrow opinions and world view. Agree with us or your economy gets it. Tony Soprano, eat your heart out. One of the newspapers, and here's the thumping irony, one of the newspapers affected was The Times. Now, one of their big headlines just on Friday, less than 24 hours before the protests took place, said blazes from the Arctic to the Amazon show the threat of global warming. It wasn't good enough, of course, for the fascists. They didn't care. They weren't bothered. They ignored this and the millions of other words that have been written about climate by the very newspapers they purport to hate. So what do they want? Are they suggesting that anything written on the subject of climate change needs to be submitted for their prior approval? And who would you submit it to, by the way? Who is the higher level of thinkers, and who are they responsible to? And this exposes the vacuous and lunatic nature of the campaign, because this is just a veneer, of course, for something greater, which is a wholesale realignment and rebuilding of society in their eyes. Is Extinction Rebellion simply a crime organisation? 0344 499 1000. In the last few hours, just to chime in with this, we learned that Animal Rebellion, me neither, Animal Rebellion, a group affiliated to Extinction Rebellion, has blockaded and shut down an abattoir in Manchester with the message animal farming equals pandemic and climate crisis. They're joining it all together. We will see more of this. We know about the organisation Black Lives Matter, almost an identical raison d'etre here. They want a civilian utopia where individuals and appointed committees make the rules. Forget the police. Just defer to the people. This is a kind of Trotskyite agenda, a dictatorship of the proletariat based on working classes' self-emancipation. That's the idea. This is how, by the way, this is called anarchy. It's 2 legs versus 4 legs and all of that. And when I hear, and you will have heard this as well, Extinction Rebellion members condemn this, or this is not us, it's not in our name, I simply don't believe them. The Cosa Nostra way suggests I don't believe them. We didn't do it. We condemn these actions. No, you don't. That is by far the very purpose of the rebellion aspect of their name, is to rebel against every scintilla of society. When you start messing around with a free press, we're in very different territory here. We're in a very dangerous place. We want to stop the British people reading newspapers because it doesn't chime with our view. That's just, it goes further than it not being a good look. It's an incredibly dangerous one at that. If it doesn't chime with what we think, we want to close you down. So shut up or do as we say. Mafia? I think so. Organised crime? I think so. 0344 499 1000. It was interesting when they asked some of the protesters, who are these billionaires? There's 5 billionaires that run the newspapers. So who are they? Extinction Rebellion person. Well, there's Rupert Murdoch. Yep. Go on. Well, there's him. Yeah, no, the other 4. Well, I don't actually know who the... No, you don't know what the other 4 is. You haven't got a first clue what you're talking about. That's why. And the idea that just because you happen to own a newspaper or a media group, somehow you are intrinsically evil by definition of the fact you own a news... I mean, this is simply anti-intellectual mumbo-jumbo at every single level. You couldn't make... If you put that in your dissertation, you'd be kicked out of university for being an idiot. It's for crimes of intellectual idiocy. Get out. You're not wanted around it. It makes no sense. These are just sort of totemic cartoon ways of defining life. Oh, they're rich and successful. He's a bad billionaire. Richard Branson, oh, he's a good billionaire. He's polluting space with his spaceships. Is that a good billionaire? I don't know. I love this. It's a good billionaire, bad billionaire. Rupert bad, Richard good. I mean, this is just a nonsense. This is the world, the crass polarity of the arguments that come from these kind of organisations. It is just high-octane nonsense. Cobblers of the first degree. 0344 499 1000. Would you say, having seen this... I can't let this go, by the way, because this isn't just a protest. We've seen the protest. I didn't have quite this view on Extinction Rebellion when they were gluing their testicles to police cars last year, whatever the heck it was. I mean, I thought it was a bit daft. In fact, I thought it was rather funny in places. But I didn't want to... I thought, well, if that's how you want to spend your afternoon, with a tube of super glue and your little whatsits out there, then that's up to you, mate. But this is something different. This goes right to the heart. If you ever wondered really what these people stand for, what their core aim is, cut away all the, we just want society to be nice. Do you know anybody who doesn't want society to be nice? Do you ever meet anybody who wants to pollute a child's lungs with bad carbon? Nobody thinks that. Of course we want progress. But what you realised at the weekend, and what we saw at the weekend, was a cracking textbook example of what it's really all about. We actually saw... these were the smaller protests compared to what we've seen in the past. They weren't anywhere near the multiple thousands that we've seen. But that's in a way kind of what made it more sinister. The fact that it was sort of slightly tucked away, and probably in a curious way. Whilst I'm talking about it here and feeling pretty darn angry about the whole thing, probably didn't translate with a lot of people. I had some protesters outside some print works. They didn't kill anyone. They waved some placards. They probably had their super glue. They did other bits and pieces. 80 of them got arrested, and that was it. Move on. But it was actually so much more than that, because these were people who decided that they didn't want certain newspapers on the newsstands. They decided they wanted to set the agenda. Fascinating how they didn't go, or they only went for certain titles. Like they thought they'd go for the Express, but they didn't go for the Mirror. It's owned by the same people, newsflash, XR people listening to this. They didn't go for the Guardian, of course, because there's no backstory to the Guardian, is there? You could look at and go, what, really? What the Grawny had? Their history looks like that? Their financial plan looks like that? Really? Well, people work on 0-hour contracts. Really? Yeah. No, they went for what they thought in their strange, narrow thinking were going to be the areas that perhaps are more famous, the Sun, the Times, those kind of areas. Newspapers that regularly particularly the Times, regularly, and the Sunday Times, will regularly have stories of climate change, all manner of issues around conservation and the environment I kid you not, on a daily basis. 0344 499 1000. Is Extinction Rebellion simply an organised crime outfit?